Hello everyone, my name is El Parnaso and in today's video we're jamming against the Sacred Beast. So don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and share the channel with your people so we can grow. Also remember that I will still be updating the best jamming masterclass with the information that I used to win the national championship and almost go to Worlds, making top 8 at the Continental Championship. It already has over 5 hours of content that will eventually become 6, eventually become 7, and even 8 hours after all the updates. All just for $20, so give it a shot. And now let's begin with the jammy match. So here I think I'm losing the dice roll, yeah. And well, let's see. Here we'll draw perfect hand to have against the Sacred Beast, right? Imagine having a Fuwa here instead. So here my opponent is going to start with the Farah. Well, for those who you know, like you can reveal this card and one spell trap in your hand until the end of the next turn. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to the activation of cards or effect of cards with their reveal spell trap name. Now, why this is relevant? Because this card right here, Sacred Beast released, is a big choke point when it comes to the Sacred Beast deck, in the sense of how replaceable what this card does is in the actual deck, which obviously is not, right? Because this one right here, add 3 Sacred Beast monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, then discards 2 cards. Like kind of a very difficult effect to replace, right? Like 3 adds 2 discards, like a graceful charity of your engine, like not that many cards. So here is very relevant for him to have this specific combination in the deck, but I think it's very worth mentioning, it's very worth to mention that at the end of the day, that only protects the card from at the moment of the card being activated, but before and after, what your opponent can do is still untouchable, right? In the sense that, for example, after the card resolves, I can still draw and lockbear him. I can still imperm whatever monster is adding, or even I can ogre whatever continuous spell or field spell he may try to use to keep playing the game, right? So here obviously he meant to show the Sacred Beast, like obviously, like why would he not protect the Sacred Beast release from Ash, Purge, or even the Delta, right? Like it wouldn't have make any sense. So here he's just going to add all of these 2 guys. He's discarding the Farah because it's a free body, and I think the Sacred Beast engine don't have any way to actually discard this card during my turn, so he can use the actual advantage of trying to take control of something, right? So at that point you just use it as a body, as a free body. And now obviously, like, he's going to just talents my ass at this point because of the cards that he has. He rather just deal with my hand traps than allow me to have two different ways to play, right? Especially if one of them is already a jamming name. I have my section here, the card quality, to discuss further why already having a jamming name is just too much. So here you can make the argument that maybe he should have taken one of my hand traps and then play around the other one, but at that point my opponent knows that any of these 2 is going to actually hurt him, no matter, or regardless of the Sacred Beast already resolving, because the other effects are kind of difficult to replace too, right? So, like for example, if he takes my imperm, this guy is going to put a continuous spell that I can just ogre. If he takes the ogre, I can just imperm this guy right here, and then I will still have my Yami Kaki, like my Cookie Yami, right? Which basically makes the imperm useless. So here he's just gonna, he's just gonna keep playing. I obviously going to imperm this guy right here. Maybe I could have tried to make the ogre, but the point here is that, like, he's getting rewarded because this is kind of an interruption, in the sense that can take the minion, and in that sense he's taking one body. I don't have the Kaki, I didn't draw any Yami name, so now this imperm is going to actually do a lot. I still don't know he has the imperm, so I decide to take the risk here and use the ogre to prevent the card being played, right? So here I'm just using the ogre, and luckily for me, he decides not to use the imperm, because in that case I just could have normal summon the troll and punish him, right? Like make the Kapsiyami way and just win the duel. So here I am almost sure this card is an imperm or some weird shit like that. So I'm just trying to make sure that I can get rid of this guy, because there is already a trap in my graveyard. So after he makes the imperm here, even the snatchy with 1100 wouldn't be enough to take out the monster, because at that point this one will have 2000 defense because of the two imperms, right? That is why I'm just making sure that I can deal with it. Also, you can make the argument that maybe this is a bluff, and I can just OTK him at the spot. If this is really a bluff and I can after this make my full combo, I am winning anyways, right? So at that point I just make calculated risks. So I'm just going with him, and guess who gets the pony? My opponent gets the pony, because that last set was indeed an impermanence, right? So at this point I know that this card is a follow-up that will allow him to play, because I didn't make any damage, right? Which means that he can just add any of the Sacred Beast and make the whole play. And regardless of that, I think I got really greedy here and I make two big mistakes. Like the first big mistake here is trying to, like the first mistake will be this one right here. I am going to normal summon the troll. I think this was very greedy for me, because I was thinking I am just going to make defense mid engine, and then that should be enough, right? But I think that I didn't consider the fact that I shouldn't know about the card. Maybe this is why I at that point I forgot. But I at this point that I'm making the normal draw, I'm not thinking about this card, which shouldn't be public information. I was just show up this by accident, right? But at the same time, I at this point I should have thought whatever starter he may have to play or he may draw, it will be a starter that will lose to my draw, right? So, and it's very likely for him to have like a call by at this point, especially when the Joker slot that he could have drawn at this point, it was actually the talents at the end, right? So I think it was a big mistake to normal summon the draw here. I think I got very greedy and very obsessed at this point to try to make engine just to play the game, right? So big mistake for me right here. I think that I shouldn't have done that, because here I will make then another big mistake, especially first here, like first a big misunderstanding about how the sacred beast works, because the Caesar don't do that much actually against that deck, if nothing, right? And here is the other big mistake, because I'm thinking about, because like I'm just making a big misunderstanding of the deck and I'm not paying big attention. I'm just the SP that I'm making to banish this guy, because I'm thinking I don't want this other guy to revive him in any shape. First, that's just nonsense, because they can recover this guy from banish regardless with the development of their engine. Second, I should have banned this one right here, because this is guaranteed follow up, because of this right here. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish it. Add one level 10 Pyro, Thunder, or Fiend monster that cannot be normal summon set from your deck to your hand. So that's the other big enormous mistake, because in the other scenario, when I don't go for the Fiend shit, I don't make the SP Little Knight, and he has guaranteed this card to as follow up, right? But that follow up will lose tremendously to my Droll and Lockbear. And even so, these are the two big mistakes. The second mistake, yes, makes just the first mistake even the bigger, but is a separate mistake nonetheless, right? Because this normal draw, even before having the possibility of SP, had their own reasoning to be bad. And then after I'm making the SP, even then, when it was a mistake, I make yet another mistake not banishing the sacred discards right here. And I am just going to show you how I'm going to get punished by it, because now I basically have nothing and I didn't take anything away from them, right? Again, we are all humans, and a duel match is like a Yu-Gi-Oh duel match is just built around the idea of the best of two. So don't put that weight that much on yourself. That is why as you can see, a lot of the matches that I show you are matches when I lose single one, right? Like it is what it is. You just have to try to do the best that you can after, and don't complain about it. Just focus on your shit, right? Here, at this point, I was just thinking, if I draw a Yami name, I think I can win the duel, because this engraver can get rid of shit like the Colossus, like nothing, right? And he already used the SP Little Knight, so I don't think he played two. And then he makes this shit. And then I'm just losing, because at that point I don't have a way to um, I don't have a way to actually just play around the thing that they have, because the engraver will be just straight up negated by this one right here. So no matter, it didn't matter that I drew this one right here. I make yet another mistake. I try to push for something to be done, like some weird shit maybe, and I didn't realize that the two traps that I play around at the beginning of the duel, well, was still happening. So my SP and I couldn't do anything, and well, I was losing anyway. So I get a tier mistake nevertheless. So so here I'm going first. The draw and lockbit at this point weren't doing that much, so I rather try to push for hand traps to be wasted on my Sky Striker development, because I have already two Najami names, and because having also specifically the engraver, I don't need my normal summon, so I could have just normal summon engraver to get also access to that engine in the point of getting draw. So that is why I started with the engage. So now I'm trying to make my opponent lose cards, and that's exactly what he does. He goes for the Ghost Bell. I just special summon the Copsy, and the duel is basically over, right? So someone can make the arming of the Marshmallow, but that would have been my normal summon, and I didn't want to waste it at that point, right? So that is why I use the Copsy straightforward. So here I'm just drawing a classic combination ever since 2018 for players going second, Ash and Impermanence. So let's see how it does. Here he's going for the Searcher. Now this Searcher will go for yet another Searcher, because the deck was completely built to lose to a lot of different cards. Now this guy is going for the spell. He's discarding this shit. And now I can just ash the spell after all that bullshit. But my opponent has the Call by the Grave, right? So this is resolving yet again. Regardless of this, like obviously this seems very powerful. He's adding 3, he's discarding 2, he has effects in the graveyard or monsters that he wants in the graveyard. And yet, one of the monsters added by this so-called powerful spell can just get imperm, and then it's not doing that much. Because now, out of nowhere, my opponent has only one card in his hand if he wants to put these interruptions and keep playing, right? Like, So it is what it is. A combination of 2018 dealing with a deck of 2026, because that is going to happen. That is why we play the deck like this. That is why it's built like this, as you can see here in the sections about standards and non-engine, and obviously the other ones. So here my opponent is still leaving a good board, right? Like it will be at the Colossus. He was thinking that he can do this right here, but we need to remember that the effect of this guy to special summon the other ones is only if you control another Sacred Beast monster. So he couldn't. I'm just letting him know, because I use the biggest skill that a Yu-Gi-Oh player can do, and that is reading the cards. At some point I had to read the cards, right? I already made the mistake, single one, of not banishing the Sacred Beast, after even made the mistake of not using the trolls for not having this big understanding of the Sacred Beast monsters. So, mistake after mistake. And now he's leaving an SP Knight, Ash Blossom, and Colossus. Obviously, I'm going to draw an Imperm just so the duel can be easier for me. But if you have the Massacre and you know the value of your cards, you know that with this, it was more than enough to actually beat him, like even with the Ash included. But this will just make everything easier for us. I decided not to get greedy regardless, so I'm just straight up improving the SP Little Knight, and now we can just deal with the Colossus that easy, right? So I am just making my monsters here. I am deciding just going by normal summoning the Luri, because that way I can just go with the OTK without having to make a synchro still with these two, because then the synchro that I could go with these two could be the Capsi Yamiway, right? And here, regardless of that, he's going for the Ash Blossom. That will just make everything even easier for me, because I may not OTK him, but I am still going just to I am still just going to win the duel, because he's not going to have nothing, and I will still have all my two different ways of Yami circulations. So one may ask that maybe I should hand make a synchro here, but if I make the synchro, the only synchro that I could hand make is the one that revives two, because I still can add because of the because of the Colossus right here, right? So at that point, I am just using a summon that I shouldn't make, because I am not getting actually anything. So, that is why I just decided to wait still here and push with the Yamis, and push with the Fiance Mid Engine. Then I can just still get rid of the Colossus, because even if he can't protect more than once per turn by this, if this card will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish one Thunder monster from your graveyard instead. He only has one Thunder monster, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he only has one Thunder monster, so is enough for me to just straight go to battle and attack, so I can just guarantee if my Fiance Mid Engine didn't go through, just so I can win the duel actually, because here I can just go with this, revive these two, and now go to battle, get rid of this guy right here, and after that use these two to make the Capsi Yamiway. So here I just decide to maximize damage, and because I'm gonna do it anyways and all the information is already public, just use the cookie to deal more damage, right? So here he's getting protected. Also, I needed one more Yami name, because the 2400 defense is exactly what the Snatchy will have. Is exactly what the is exactly and is enough for these other two to not being able to attack it. This will have been in 2300, and this in 2100. So I also kind of needed that other monster. So here I am just going to battle, making the damage, and then my opponent knows that it's just a loose duel, right? I can just go for the Kapsiyami way, no matter what he could have drawn at this point, because then I will have had also the Lollipop. The Lollipop can just get rid of this one right here, the Sacred Beast, and that will be it. So if you enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your people, give it a shot to the masterclass, check the free section so you can understand the value, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.